You ever wonder what would happen if you stepped out the front door of your business, walked down the street, and just introduced yourself to your neighbors, to the other business owners serving your community? Well, Shayna Gross, my guest this week, did just that when she moved her Atlanta physical therapy practice from one neighborhood to another, very high pedestrian area. It's called Little Five Points. It's a well-known neighborhood here in Atlanta, has a lot of mom and pop businesses, and is great for just walking up and down the streets, browsing the neighborhood, shopping from local merchants rather than big chains, right? And so Shayna moved there, 4 or 5 months ago from a nearby location. Her new place is big and allows her to offer, in addition to physical therapy, small group physical training. And she has a sauna and cold plunge and the whole works. It's really spectacular what this move did for her from a small location in one neighborhood to a much bigger location in a nearby neighborhood. What she did after she got there is why I wanted her to come on the show, and talk to you, because I think you can learn a lot from what she's done. When she got to Little Five Points, she didn't just rely on Facebook or whatever social media is out there. She went out, walking up and down the streets, walking into all the businesses, introducing herself, saying, "How can I help you? What can I do for you? Want you to know I'm here and what I'm all about." And out of that came some partnerships that are really paying off for her. Her business is doing great in its new location. It's really exciting. And I think you're going to enjoy hearing how she did it. You'll enjoy just getting to know her a little bit because she's a delight to spend time with. She also got involved with putting on a wellness fair and working with the local business association. And she's got a lot of members already from a nearby large employer that's going through a lot of stress right now. So those folks are turning to her for help with their physical therapy, personal training, and wellness. So it's really exciting to see Shayna take her established business, expand her offerings, move to an awesome new location, and then really apply that old shoe leather type of marketing, just getting out there step by step, getting to know people individually and building your business and having a lot of success with it. So I'm excited about this conversation. I hope you enjoy it. Here it is. Shayna, hi, nice to see you again.
Great to see you.
We saw each other just yesterday and here we are again. But my luck.
Like, lucky for me, it seems like we never have enough time to cover all the topics.
I know. We are both obsessed with these topics and like to talk about them. And I like learning from you and I appreciate your energy. So this is going to be a fun conversation.
Thank you.
As it was yesterday, and I was so excited to see your new location in Little Five Points here in Atlanta. A great neighborhood, a unique neighborhood in town, a little bit hipster, a little bit funky, a little, I don't know, Haight Ashbury kind of feel to it. If for anyone who's not familiar, it's not your typical suburban strip mall, is what I'm getting at.
I
You are,
agree.
and you moved in just 2 or 3 months ago, maybe it's been a little longer than that now, 4 or 5 months ago, into the former home of a feminist bookstore.
Yeah.
And you have renovated it. It's beautiful.
Thank
Congratulations.
you. Thank you very much.
I took a minute to describe the neighborhood because I think it's really important to what I want to talk about today. And I want to talk about your settling into this new neighborhood. But before we get to the exciting ways that you are marketing yourself with your new neighbors and your new um, prospects, which I think everyone listening to this is going to learn a lot from. Tell us a little bit about Physiovation, how you got going. You were down the street until recently, and why you moved.
Thank you. Absolutely. So, I'm a physical therapist. I have been for 25 years, which ages me, but I also think that that speaks to the breadth of my career, which is important because this iteration of myself is kind of a culmination of all of these skills that I've been developing over the past 25 years.
Yeah.
So Prior to this, you met me when I had a 450 square foot studio in Inman Park, right across from Kitty Dare. And last year, I had a milestone in my life. I turned 50, and I decided that I wanted to have a 12-hour party because who shouldn't? And so the first 2 hours of the day were a workout called the Filthy 50. And I had 17 friends to show up to work out with me. And one of them candidly turned to me afterwards and said, "You should be adding this to your PT practice." And I started listening to what my patients were talking about when they were talking about strength, and hearing people say, "I don't lift weights anymore. I got hurt lifting weights. I don't know how to lift weights. I've never lifted weights." And I put that together with one of my most recent heroes, I'll use that word, Peter Attia. I feel
Yeah.
that way about him. I respect his work greatly. He's been extremely brave in putting himself out there and making this whole concept of health span much more mainstream with
Hmm.
his book Outlive, with his podcast, The Drive, and making the information accessible to people. And so I felt like he presented all of the research that I needed in order to justify being a physical therapist, run and owned strength and conditioning wellness center. So, and I probably should have said wellness center first, because the strength and conditioning piece is only one of the newer pieces that I've added to the model. So, I was lucky enough to have the opportunity in September of last year to purchase what you described as Karis's bookstore. And the first thing that I noticed when I walked in was this big open space that
Yeah.
used to be the main area of the bookstore. And all I saw was a perfect location for a gym. And the gym is currently split. About 75% of it is home to cardio equipment, weightlifting equipment, barbells, dumbbells, etc. 25% of it is home to my primary modality in my physical therapy practice, which is Pilates equipment and treadmills. So I specialize in gait analysis. I got certified through the organization Gait Happens. I found that their program was the icing on the cake to a really well organized um, system to analyze gait and then break it down into its component parts. And that concept of gait analysis, and then the part that I've added is taking them onto the Pilates equipment, which takes people out of gravity, allows me to use the Pilates vocabulary to assess different neuromuscular patterns out of gravity, and then use very objective physical therapy testing procedures to figure out what are the foundational building blocks that the person in front of me is struggling with that is leading to inefficiencies of gait and movement. And then build each person a customized home exercise program that they can then utilize to address those challenge areas. And then they see me for physical therapy to continually improve those neuromuscular patterns. And they simultaneously can join our strength and conditioning classes that, one, help them address this known fact at this point that we lose 8% of our lean muscle mass every decade.
Hmm.
And two, the one of the main risk factors for mortality is cardiovascular disease. And so the VO2 max training and testing that we do helps people address that. And then we come to a broader wellness concept when you look in our modality suite and find a 4-person sauna and a cold plunge,
Yeah.
because heat and cold therapy allows you to address not just recovery from exercise, which you really need to understand the science behind to time appropriately, and we can get further into that, but also nervous system regulation, because the heat cold therapy really does address nervous system imbalance and really helps get the parasympathetic and the sympathetic nervous systems kind of in a more advantageous rhythm together. And so I've been really excited. We opened January 6th. And as you described the neighborhood, I just have to add another level of gratitude to this whole opportunity because I didn't realize what an incredible fit Little Five Points was going to be. And I live close by. I used to only drive through Little Five Points, come out occasionally, support local business because supporting local business has always been important to me. But I didn't realize the opportunity that I was going to have to align myself with other local businesses
Hmm.
that are very like minded
Mm.
and promote them because I'm really of the mindset that there is abundance. So, an abundance mindset.
Yeah.
And when the tide rises, all ships sail.
Yep, I love all of that, and you've given us a lot to unpack. And before we proceed, I want to just recap a little bit. You had a successful physical therapy business in a neighboring area of town for many years, and then when you turned 50, you had a workout with your friends, and somebody said, "You need to be doing this at your physical therapy practice." And you went, "Ding, ding, ding. What a great idea." And that is what got me so interested in meeting you initially, because we have a mutual friend, Michelle, who introduced us. And I have been wanting to expand my scope from just writing about physical fitness and exercise to get into physical therapy and other related topics. And you were doing the same thing. So that I think that's really smart of you to see that expansion because we all want to move better and feel better. That's a primary motivator of fitness over 50 or 60 or 45 or whatever age we want to talk about it that maybe you don't have when you're in your 20s, right? What I think is so interesting is that you're combining those two. So if I come to you for physical therapy, are you going to tell me that I should be doing your small group personal training too? And if I come to you for small group personal training, are you going to suggest physical therapy? Like, how are you going about presenting these two things to your people?
That's a great question. And it's really pretty much like everything I do on an individual basis. If
Okay.
you come to me and you tell me, I have a place that I absolutely love to work out, and I watch you move, I might say to you, absolutely, I love loyalty. It's one of my core values. I don't want you to leave where you love to work out. How much feedback are you getting about the way that you move? And if you tell me I've got people that I work out with that are my coaches that are on me, I'm going to say that's wonderful. Then why don't you come to me for a gait analysis session? We will see kind of what neuromuscular patterns could be improved in their efficiency. I'll give you a custom home program. And before you go to the gym, do these exercises. It's going to really prime your neuromuscular pump. It's going to really get the most optimal neuromuscular pattern firing for you before you go to your favorite place. Then why don't you come in next month when you've had a month of seeing what those exercises feel like? Let's see how they've landed in your body. Let's see what we need to advance, what we still need to focus on, and then we go from there. So that's the person who has the place where they love to work out.
Mhm,
And I would say that that is the minority. I would
mhm,
say that most people say, well, I have a place that I go. I have one coach that I love, but I go 5 days a week. So there's quite a few days when I'm not really sure of whether or not what I'm doing is correct or not.
mhm.
And so I either don't go those days. So then I end up not working out or I end up doing something else. And so I'll say, well, why don't you come to Physiovation once a week? And then that way, the day that you're not getting the feedback where you already go, you can get feedback here. And then you can take that feedback that you're receiving to the place where you already go, and it'll be a great fit. And then if you find that there's something that you'd like to address in physical therapy, come for that session. Let's build you a customized program and let's figure out what your those same building blocks are for you, and you'll have a program that you can do as well. And then the third case is somebody who comes to me and says, "You know what? I'm X number of years old. I've noticed that I can no longer get up and down off the floor. Or I've noticed that every time I go up and down stairs, if there are not two handrails, I don't feel safe. Or I've noticed that I've been tripping lately. I haven't fallen. I'm not old enough to fall, but I do notice that I trip and I'm a little concerned. Then that is okay. let's do a physical therapy session. Let's kind of take a look. And what kind of exercise are you doing? And that tends to be the people who are either not doing any and feel like they know that they should be, or maybe during COVID, they were out walking every day. And now that we're in a post COVID world, now they're finding that they're less and less and less active. And so they're starting to notice that when they do try to walk, they can't even get close to the distances that they were touching when it was COVID times. So that person is, yes, physical therapy for sure. And come at least once a week to this strength class
Hmm.
so we can start to help you get some foundational strength to build on. And then we can decide, do you want to come 3 times a week? Do you want to go to another place? But
Yeah.
do you want to do this at home? But understanding that we no longer live in a world where we can say cardio is enough and pretend that we're doing the right thing.
Yep. Super important. We talk about that a lot on this show and in my business private content. And I think that most people my age and older have no idea that strength training is essential to healthy aging because they just, when I was growing up, it was just bodybuilders who lifted weights. It wasn't normal people. And so the message still hasn't gotten into, like I said, people my age, and I'm 61 and a little older. I think people who are now 50 and below, they're more open to it because even if they haven't been going to the gym, they're aware that that's something ordinary people often do. Do you know what I mean? It's not some
Yep.
freakish hobby of just a few people. So I think that's a really key message. And I love the way you're integrating it with physical therapy because we're going to see a lot more of that. We are seeing a lot more of that integration of healthcare and fitness or exercise.
I do think that we should name a word though, because neither one of us
Oh,
have
okay.
said it. And I think it's the most important word. And
Let's
that
hear
is
it.
it's prevention. Because that really is what this wellness model and most wellness models are about. If you look at our current healthcare system, it's much more of a crisis management
Yep.
system. It waits for a diagnosis, a disease. And Peter Attia talks about this as
Hmm.
medicine 2.0. And then he talks about medicine 3.0. And the big difference being that medicine 2.0 is the evidence based practice for as many subjects as possible. So large population numbers. Whereas medicine 3.0 and this prevention model that we're talking about is taking that evidence based data and applying it to the individual in front of you. And what that turns into is prevention. So, in this wellness model that is physical therapy based, this is wellness that is focused on the neuromuscular system, the way your body moves, because we develop compensatory strategies as we
Hmm.
age because we're fighting gravity. It's just one of the things that's true on this earth. And so, understanding that, yes, there are definitely ages, but I also have people in my practice in their 20s that have scoliosis or had an injury as a child that was never really addressed appropriately. And they've noticed that they really need something in order to feel as good as they see their peers feeling. And that
Yeah.
is that prevention mindset. So I think when we talk about what sets this practice apart, what sets the content that you write apart, and that is this prevention mindset.
Hmm.
And so when you talk about how people 51 and older haven't embraced weight training, or you said 61, sorry,
Yeah.
61 and older haven't embraced strength training as necessary, it's because that same age range also may mistakenly think that they're too late. They may
Yeah.
mistakenly think that they missed the boat on this prevention concept. And let me be the first to tell you that they absolutely have not. It's never too late. I have a 77-year-old in my practice who now works out 3 times a week, lifting weights for the first time at 77 years old. The
Yep.
changes that she has seen in her function are incredible. And so the idea of really naming this idea of prevention, because when you talked about people relating to this, I want people to understand prevention doesn't have to be an all or nothing concept. It just isn't. Prevention can be a one bucket at a time concept. I'm going to go from being sedentary to taking a walk to the mailbox every day. You're starting to exhibit preventative characteristics, right? Behavior. So, how can
Mhm.
we help inform people in a way that feels accessible to them so that they can be part of this prevention movement
Hmm.
and really making healthcare much more about looking forward and identifying what are my risk factors and how can I address them before they become a problem?
Hey, are you a fitness professional trying to grow your business with people over 50? If you are, then you need to know how to communicate with them, how to market to them, and how to get them to trust you with their fitness, well being, and money. We're talking about millions of people who are a little older than the typical market that the fitness industry usually pursues. They have more money, more time, and better motivation to make the best long term fitness consumers you'll find anywhere. If you're not focusing on them, you should be. PrimeFit Content is the only content marketing company designed specifically to help you engage people in this group and to help you distinguish yourself from competitors in your community. It's effective, affordable, and super easy to use. Check it out at primefitcontent.com. You were telling me yesterday about some of the inroads you've made in your new community. And I was just getting so excited as you were relating these things because you weren't telling me this to show off, and yet you are doing things that I'm always telling people to do. Gym owners and other small business owners in health and fitness and well-being who want to reach older people. That's who listens to the show and who buys my content, Prime Fit content. And you just rattled off all these things that you're doing. So tell me about those things. And by that, I mean the Abba partnership and the festival and the business coalition and that large employer in the neighborhood. These things are so smart and you're doing great. I think it's really showing already in your new place. So go for it.
Thank you. Thank you. So, the first thing is I'm a people person. My cup is filled when I get to do things like this, when I get to have in-person conversations, when I get to receive information as much as I'm giving information. And so for me to be located in Little Five Points, which I can think of a million different times I've driven through a new town or a city and I've seen places like this, right? I mean, in Boston, it's all the different squares, right? So
Yeah.
thinking about, oh, every town has one. It doesn't have to be Little Five Points, but there's other business owners just like me. And whether they've been in business for decades or months, we all know what it's like to be a business owner.
Mhm.
And it's hard. It's really hard. And so I just walked down the street and started to figure out who are my neighbors. Who are my neighbors? Just step out of the door, get away from the computer, realize that yes, social media is important, but it's not the only thing that there is. Who are the people in my neighborhood, right? Mr. Rogers used to talk about it all the time.
My work here is
And
done. My work here is done, Shayna. You have given the template for how to grow your small business. Go ahead.
yeah, it's true. And look, I've been so fortunate to find out that unbeknownst to me, Abba Dabba, which I'd been in their store multiple times, I didn't know that they were a foot health based business. And here I have found this incredible partnership. They carry the kinds of shoes I'm telling my people to buy. They carry toe spacers, which, if you don't know what those are, you will soon. And they carry toe socks.
Yeah.
They carry the products that I'm trying to get my patients to drive through the streets of Atlanta and go find another store to try them on when they can literally walk out my door, cross one street and walk three doors down. And not only try on all these shoes, but they have incredibly educated employees. And so all you need to do is say, hey, Shayna sent me here from Physiovation and she thinks that my feet look like blah, blah, blah. And they're going to say, oh, try on these barefoot shoes, try on these wide toe box shoes. Here are some more cushion shoes that you need to use to get into a flatter shoe. So they have the knowledge. And so it's a perfect synergy. Finding out that their owner is so open and excited to partner with people like me as well. We're having a ball. We're having an absolute ball. And then I'm very lucky because Little Five Points has this amazing business association
Mhm.
that has all of the small businesses in Little Five Points at the focus. And they do lots of festivals, usually music festivals, cultural festivals. Little Five Points is a very historic area that
Mhm.
has always valued being a little bit off the beaten path.
Yeah.
I don't think I would offend a single person if I said Little Five Points likes to be known as weird, and
Yeah.
that's fine. But I also found out that there's 25 businesses in Little Five Points that have a wellness focus to their business, whether it's Arden's Gardens that makes
Mhm.
vegan smoothies, whether it's a salt take place across the street. Abadaba's is a foot health store. Sevenanda is a natural foods co-op.
Yeah.
The list goes on and on. There's a crystal store across the street where I bought the crystal for the entryway of my place.
Nice.
So all of these businesses, and I just thought we really need to help each other out. So I pitched the idea to the president of the business association of this wellness walk, kind of like a pub crawl, but
Mm.
let's instead go location to location. And each business offered a unique offering for the day. Here at Physiovation, I taught 30-minute strength classes every hour on the hour. So people would get a sampling of what it felt like to
Mhm.
be coached by a physical therapist, to receive the level of feedback that they're going to get from me. And then I know they had different discounts at different stores, and it was such a wild success. We had 55 people sign up. I had 15 people walk through my door for the first time. We're going to do it again. We're going to do it biannually. We're going to make it a scavenger hunt. We're going to make it so that people want to be in Little Five Points for this event and
Mhm.
learn new ideas about wellness, because wellness is something that not everyone is going to see in the same light, but that everyone can benefit from regardless of the type of wellness you choose to take.
I'm kind of speechless because I think that that is just a textbook case of how to network in real life. And so many people think, well, I put something on Facebook. Isn't that good enough? It's like, well, do that. Yes. Put stuff on Facebook, have a newsletter, have a website, and walk out your door and walk up and down the street and go in the door and introduce yourself. And maybe it
And
ends
I
up being
think
a partnership and maybe it doesn't. But golly, don't you want to know your neighbors?
I think, Jay, that what we're really not talking about is fear.
Yeah.
And it takes courage, right?
Yes.
It takes courage to walk out that door, walk into that store, realize that maybe it's not going to be a good fit, and then to walk out of that store and somehow bolster your confidence enough to know that you're going to be fine. You're going to be able to move your business forward, because even if that person wasn't the right fit, they might tell somebody else.
Hmm.
Right? And so, how can we help support people to have that mindset where they can return to their purpose and know that if they continue to dream and they continue to follow what they believe their purpose to be, that they will succeed?
And Abba Dabba, that shoe store that's 2 or 3 doors down from you, they want to be able to tell their customers about you. They want to know that there's this awesome new physical therapist that moved in down the street, and maybe she can help you because Abba Dabba is the kind of store where the staff knows what they're talking about and they're very helpful and they know they're what's going on in footwear and so you can walk in and say, "Hey, I'm having this issue or I'm going to go on this hiking trip, but my feet are this way." And they're really skilled and expert at what they're talking about.
Yeah.
They wanna know that you're there. Helps them do their job better, right? They care about
Yep.
their clients, as do most small business owners. So, it's a forgive me, it's a win-win for
It's a
everybody,
win-win.
and I just wish more people did it. You can also come up with I don't know if you did this or not, and you certainly don't have to tell me, but you can formalize a collaboration and come up with something like, "Hey, I'll put a 20% off coupon in my newsletter for your business
Mhm.
if you'll do the same thing for me in your newsletter." Um, or whatever, or you can, put up a printed, flyer or something and leave it at their cash register, and maybe they'll wanna leave one of theirs with you, and this is how it's done, and yet we're afraid to do it. We're afraid to walk up to a stranger and introduce ourselves and tell them about what we do and how we help people, and then we wonder why no one comes to see us.
And we haven't done that yet. We've been talking about it.
Yeah.
But so far it has just been, it just feels so good. It feels so good to
You
be
just got there.
appreciated.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it feels wonderful. So, yeah, we'll work on all of those details, but I think again, just that basic principle of having an abundance mindset and knowing that if we can somehow help the tide rise, all ships are
Mhm.
going to sail. And in this, I mean, when you started, we were talking about what we get excited about, and I mentioned this to you yesterday. It's an
Yeah.
extremely exciting time to be in love with the foot and ankle and the way that people walk and the footwear that's out there. There's new research coming out
Yeah.
and it's exciting. And I just can't believe that at this point, the culmination of my career is I get to be at the tip of the spear of what people are hearing about and know that the data exists to support these drastic changes. I mean, I used to be an advocate of pointed shoes. And now I know why that was the worst thing I could possibly recommend. And I understand all the science behind it. And I can take my fancy little foot model here and explain it to you. And so feeling so empowered by the information around me and being excited to share it so that people can feel better. Going back to what you said, people want to feel better, people want to move better. It all starts at the feet. And in general, the feet are seen as extremely complicated, not necessarily well understood. There are a few terms that are overgeneralizing when it comes to what people are dealing with. And quite a few myths that need to be debunked. And if we're still trying to convince people that they need to strength train, try convincing the same age range that you were talking about their footwear.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. One other thing about your new neighborhood I wanna make sure we discuss before we move on. You mentioned a particular large employer in your
Mm,
not right there in Little Five, but nearby, and it's, well-known place that thousands of people work at, and you've got a lot of their employees who came to your new location, which
yeah.
is so smart. I want everyone listening to this to think of, is there a university in your nearby? Is there a large employer nearby? Is there a, I don't know, a community college? Just sort of anything where a lot of people work, and can you reach out to them? Now, I don't know that you did all of that, but tell me about how this has happened.
I mean, I think it has happened because the people at this local employer are going through tremendous amounts of stress. And what I have been talking about is how exercise releases endorphin. And if you're going through large amounts of stress, you need to be thinking about how you're taking care of yourself. And so I think it's just continuing to inform, reaching out to people that I know that work for this employer and saying, hey, I know this is a tough time, come try a strength class on me. See how you feel when you leave. And without fail, every single person has felt better when they've walked out of the door than when they've walked in.
A lot of people are going through a lot right now. It's not just in your neighborhood or our city, and that's a great pitch. We're all under a lot of stress right now, or I know you're under a lot of stress right now. If you want to explore some techniques to feel better, to deal with the stress, to get away from it all for an hour a day, whatever it is, make that clear, make that outreach. And you have done all of this, I think, almost instinctually, right? I don't think you came in with a plan to do all of this, did you?
No, this is just kind of the way I am in the world. And it doesn't matter if I'm promoting something I'm doing or I'm promoting something new that I tried that I just found to be incredible. I tend to want to have generosity of spirit and share that information widely because if it worked for me, then it's probably going to work for somebody else.
That's what was going on in my head when you were telling me all of this yesterday. It's like she's doing all this stuff. She's just doing it. And I feel like I tell people all the time to do it. And I get this resistance or a glassy eyed stare. And you just walked into your new location and set it on fire. It's awesome.
Thank you.
Congratulations and thank you. Tell
Thank you.
people where they can go, even if they're not in Atlanta and they might never have the good fortune to walk into your business. I still think they could learn a lot from your website and maybe anything else that you want to share with them. So where would that be?
So you can find me online at physiovation.com. And then you can also find me on Instagram. My channel is called Physiovation as well. And I would say go check it out because you probably know somebody in Atlanta. And wouldn't it be
Mm.
nice for you to be able to share this information with somebody that you know?
Excellent. And it's been my privilege to do that with my listeners today. And so I'm glad that we did this. It's been a delight, and I will see you soon.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you for listening to the Optimal Aging Podcast. I'm your host, Jay Croft of Prime Fit Content. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you'll subscribe, review, and tell a friend. All of that helps me grow my audience. I hope you'll share any comments you have with me, including suggestions about people I should interview and topics I should cover. You can learn more about my newsletter and content business at primefitcontent.com and write me at Jay, at primefitcontent.com. And I'm on all the social channels. Again, thanks for listening. Join me next time.